Okay, so today we are going to look and see that there is no posts on PolGab. So please, if you have questions, please go and post them on PolGab. I posted that link in the chat. So today we're just going to go through and pick a couple of things for our DBA tools. Since we don't have a whole lot of questions that are asked, and we'll wait for a little bit to have people join. But the big piece about the new DBA tools is that I wanted to see, this is one of the questions that I've been asked a lot. And I've had a question myself, so I'm going to open up my PowerShell window and we're going to find out what all is involved in this new PS library. So when we do get DBA or get library or get module list available, we're going to see DBAtools.library. And there's this new library module, and what I've wanted to know is there's our library path, so that's an interesting piece. But what I want to know is if I do the system.app domain, current domain .get assemblies, we get the assemblies that are loaded. All right, so this is PowerShell 5.1, so don't get confused, it's 7. But it has these that are default loaded by not loading DBA tools or SQL Server. So to make this a little bit better, we're just gonna create a function. In my normal profile, I have a function that does this for me. We're just gonna do function get my assemblies, and with no parameters, we're gonna get this. We're gonna select expand property full name. Actually, we're going to sort it first. And we're just going to output the full name. Okay, sorted. This is my function. Now I can say get dash my assemblies, and I get my, there I get my assemblies. See, so there's my name, and they're alphabetically. I don't have to worry about this version and all these things and GACT and all that stuff. So now I'm going to load the modules library. So IPMO or import module DBAtools.library. Now it loaded more than the library, and the library looks like it loads quite slow. And I was hoping it wouldn't load that slow, but at this point we have get DBA tools. The DBA tools library 2023-427 is the thing, and it has one command path. But what I want to see is I want to see what my assemblies are that get loaded with library. And what I find is beautiful little SMO, right? So SMO is SQL enum, SMO extended, management SDK. So these are my SFC stuff for my things. Now notice that it loads 17100, 17100, 17100, but notice there's a couple of them, like the DAC hasn't been updated yet, so it's a 16.1. It's very interesting that that loads, but most of them are 17100, which is the next version of SQL Server, so that's good. The reason that is because they've released the SMO ahead of time, and some of it had to be backported. In my opinion, they had some commands that they didn't, or properties that they didn't put into the 16.100 or .1, and they needed them in 17 so that they could prepare for the next release of SQL Server. So the reality is that we get 17.100 now instead of 16 because it needed to be have some properties added. So that's interesting. So what I wanted to see is this, and then I'm going to open up a new window. And what I wanted to show was that if I IPMO or import module DBA tools, it will load DBA tools library. So here we did a get dash module, I think. And the get dash module is going to give me DBA tools library, but nothing else is loaded except the base PowerShell stuff. Okay. In the new one, if I load DBA tools and I say get dash module, you'll see that I actually do get DBA tools library as well as other things, right? So there's some embedded things. The one thing I was expecting to see is PS framework, but I don't see it get loaded. So I'm not sure why that doesn't show unless it's an embedded module and I just don't get to see it. But now if I go get, I go grab my function because I didn't do it in here. Oh, you know what? I think it will actually work in here. I love, now you might have a question of how I'm doing this. But a cool thing we found out just the other day, get my assembly. So I still see all of my SQL Server stuff. And it is the same as this SQL Server stuff, see? Starts with connection info, DAC, DMF, management, collector, integration services, register service X, event, DB scoped, SMO, SMO extended. So I get a lot of things. Now, one thing I don't see in here is this. Nope, it's right there in X event. So the same thing, SMOX extended, SQL enum, management, WMI enum, and X event. So we do get all of the same things, which is cool because here's the deal. There are some times when I will go and try to get something done with SMO. And I don't necessarily need DBA tools at all. So how do you do that? So the reality is that you can there is a DBA tools library module. You can actually install dash module DBA tools library. And you can then use that SMO library to do everything you want in SMO without having to have DBA tools loaded. Now, again, is that practical? Depends, right? It found it 2023-5.5, so I actually have 427. So I could actually get an update here that lets me get this update. Now, if I install module DBA tools, it does install the DBA tools library as well as the embedded libraries it needs, or the embedded modules it needs. So I still get it if I install DBA tools itself. But if I just want a machine that has DBA tools library and that's it, then I don't have to worry about that. But let's do get DBA tools library. Come on, the library path. And it shows me, here's my path of my library. So DBA tools library desktop. Because I'm in the desktop. Now let's go in the file folder. I just want to show you what really is entailed in this module, because there's a lot of things that people don't understand about how PowerShell works. But the cool thing is this library has its own folder, 27. And here's core. So again, if I run .PowerShell 7, it changes what I get because desktop is the 5.1. So it's really kind of nice that we get this thing. Now the license, I want to open that because you would think it would be restricted, but guess what? Any person obtaining a copy of this software and associated documentation to deal with the software without restriction, including without limitation to the rights to use, copy, modify, merge, publish, distribute, sublicense, and or sell copies of the software. So this is a very good license to let you do what you need to do, and I believe it's MIT, which is great. But now you have the ability to do all your things you want to do and not have to worry about using this thing. So it's an MIT license, and obviously the copyright of the things, the copyright is there, but the license is granted to all. So that's a cool thing about the license. This is the module, which again loads the DLLs, but here's my desktop, lib here. This is all my Microsoft stuff. That is quite a bit of stuff if you think about it, and x64 for spatial. Then if I go back here and I say core, you see that the lib contains the core versions, and they could be the same versions with other things like things that are run in Core Azure Core, things like that don't have the full .NET thing, and then the third-party things, Bogus, LumenWorks, and XE Smart Target. So you get a lot of value just in the DBA Tools library. module, not counting DBA tools here with 2.0, and you have your bin folder that has all the stuff in it. But this module uses the DBA tools library, so you get it when you load that, like we showed here. We get DBA tools and library loaded at the same time because DBA tools now relies on library. So it loads it for you. The other thing I wanted to show you was when we look at the path here. No, we're good there. I totally forgot what I was going to do. That's really sad. Remember that these modules are actually self-contained. If I copied and pasted this into another folder, I have the whole module. There is no DLLs it puts in System32. There's nothing it does behind the scenes for you. It's all self-contained in this folder. What I was going to do is this. If I wanted to find out if there's an update to the DBA tools without doing update module, I can do find module just like I did with the library and see what version came back. We're on 2.00, which is great because that's really good. Libraries on 2023-04-27, but we found out that there was a 5.5, so I could update it. There is a 2.04. Look at that. Bug fixes, little things. There's a few things I've noticed that we've talked about before in the past that it's going to be important for you to be able to bug things. But I didn't have anything in mind really heavily to show you on the DBA tool side. I was hoping to get some questions, but it doesn't look like I have any questions, and we have some viewers that aren't asking questions. So I was going to hopefully talk about, we've talked a little bit about the migration commandlets. I've been using them a lot lately, which has been fun. But the challenge is that there's a lot of them, and this DBA migration, so there's a start-DBA migration here that really controls a lot of them. And the problem with that is that there's a lot of times I do a copy or whatever, and I only want certain things. So I just wanted to go over this just a little bit because DBA migration has a lot of power. But the biggest power isn't that you just go in start DBA migration and everything goes, because sometimes you don't want to do the databases, and you can, but you don't have to. This example right here has an exclude, and that's what I've been wanting to use and haven't had the time to just figure it out. But this exclude property, I want to show you detail about the exclude property. Because the reality is that you can start a full DBA migration and exclude a few things that you might have done yourself. You might have already done a copy DBA login. You might have already done your backups and restores because you're specific or particular like me, where I just don't like to be done by another tool. But here's the exclude property or parameter that you can have. And this exclude has all of these things. So accepted values is here. And you can do databases, logins, agent server, all of these things that go on and on and on. So if you get to know these, or you have your favorites, remember that this exclude property, it isn't required and it isn't in the pipeline at all. So you can actually go here. Now, one or more objects to migrate. So if I go up here and look at the definition of exclude, there's an exclude right here. I cannot find it. Exclude. Notice it is a string array. So you could have your favorite things. Let's grab a few of them and I'll show you how you do this with ease. So if you have your favorite ones like this and you want to just exclude them, we'll do a new file. PowerShell. And we want these to be excluded. All I have to do is put at is T-SQL. I've been doing a lot of T-SQL lately too. Exclude equals, and then I just do an array, right? And it wants you to quote them, but I mean, that's okay. They're strings. And you can do this without the strings too, but I just want to show you, if you have this as your common excludes in your migration, all you have to do is pass in the list. And guess where this can go? You can have all sorts of variables in your profile that govern this. So when I say start-DBA migration, I can actually say -exclude with $exclude. And with my other parameters of source and destination and stuff like that, all of a sudden I don't have to type those in or put those on the command line. I can maintain my own type. I can have a cluster exclude. I can have a normal instance exclude. I can have an availability group exclude, and all those things just write nicely in an exclude. So the one thing I was going to do today that I didn't prepare for, so I'm not going to do it today. But next time, what I want to do is I want to go through all of the scenarios of pipelining and splatting. Splatting was one of the ones I was supposed to do last week, and I really wanted to, but I couldn't. But splatting has a lot of power, and you can set up a lot of configs. Most people don't set up a profile, but you really should if you think about the power of the profile. Normally it's not created because it goes in your Windows Documents folder. But if I say yes, I now have a profile that I could do, that I could actually take this guy and put in it. So here's my function. I put my function in my profile, and I can make it pretty, right? Doesn't take any parameters. Sort, 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 and end. If I save that and I open up a new window, now I bet you didn't know this, but you can actually test path function : and then get my, and look at that, true. That function exists. I can tell that it does, and I can also run it, get-myassemblies, because I loaded it in my profile. So all of a sudden, I have the ability to do that. Now I could find it one other way, get-command, get-myassemblies, and there it is. Okay, so the profile is where I would put this kind of stuff if I were configuring my environment. I would have this part in here. And again, I'm not doing total splatting, but I would put that anywhere in here. Remember that PowerShell is a top to bottom, so it will actually go from the top to the bottom. So if this is used in here, it will be blank. So you want to be, this is up top before you use it. But again, global variables aren't the most positive thing in the world. But this could also be done with splatting. We could put that in an exclude, and exclude would match because the property name was exclude. It could match the complete thing with when I splat. So this, I'll leave this alone till next time, but I wanted to make sure that we at least address that this command has been on my mind a lot lately with things I've been doing. I copy the logins manually. Sometimes I export the logins to filter them out. The agent server, that is a big one that I copy, so I would exclude this one because I do it by hand. Same thing with some of these others. I don't always want to do them in my start DBA migration, but I can. I just don't always do that. So that was a cool function that I wanted to illustrate. It's been on my mind lately. Hopefully I will get people to post their favorite DBA tools functions either in a blog post or in the PolGab thing to see what they love to do, and then we'll talk about those as we go. But I think that's all I'm going to do today. I think there's lots that we could go over with backup backup and restore. Certificates have always been have also been on my mind, and we'll have to go over those one of those days. Maybe tomorrow we can do that with if I have my schedule up to date and I can get on the Twitch from the daily grind that I'm in right now. I don't know that I will be, so we might cancel tomorrow. But hopefully this was helpful in seeing some of the things and seeing the DBA Tools library ability to load the library itself separately, right? So that it's kind of nice to have it a separate thing. I built my own, and this is way more comprehensive, so I'll probably end up using these when I go about doing other things. It just makes more sense to use something that's been out there and tried and true. So thank you very much for attending, and hopefully we will see you on another Ask Me Anything. Have fun with DBA Tools and enjoy your rest of your day.